and today's theme is going to be the hips. And the reason I've chosen hips is because the hips represent where we're going forward to in life, and I thought this was particularly poignant, so it will be this week's theme because we're coming out of lockdown and we're coming into spring, and so it's where we're heading. And the hips are meant to represent, as I said, where we're going forward. The shoulders in the Eastern world represent responsibility and where we're, our responsibilities in life. And the hips are where we're going forward. So we're going to start with a very familiar movement, so feet hip width apart, and this gentle swaying from side to side. You can lift your heels, and I will often point out different things, but here I'm going to highlight the lifting of the heels, or even if you don't lift the heels, you're shifting the weight from side to side. So you're balancing the pelvis. You're also, of course, as you go from side to side, beginning to work on the brain hemispheres. And you're working through all 5 energies. You can become more swaying, raise your arms, or you can keep it at a low level. And then start to slow the sway down. And then start to just gently sway from side to side. And come to standing. Lift and roll the shoulders. Bring your feet to comfortably hip width apart if you need to adjust them. And breathing in, raise your right hand. Stretch up. Breathing out, turn your head to the left, away from the right hand. Breathe in as you bring your head to the centre, and breathing out, lower your right arm. And breathing in, raise your left arm, stretch your fingers upwards. Breathing out, turn your head away from your left arm to the right. Breathe in, bring your head back to the centre. And breathing out, lower your left arm. Breathe in, raise both arms. Join the thumbs and just sway from side to side. Again, you've got that balance from left to right and right to left. Come to the centre and lower your arms. Lift and roll your shoulders. Breathing in, raise your arms up, palms touch. Breathing out, bring your hands back through the centre, bend your knees, roll down, touching your fingertips to the ground or to your shins. As you breathe in, lengthen your back, flatten your back. Breathe out, soften your knees, press your feet into the ground and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Raising the hands and bringing them through the centre to the heart. And then breathing in, raising your arms up, palms touch. Breathing out as you bring your hands through the centre. Bend your knees, hands touching either on the floor or on your shins. As you breathe in, straighten your legs slightly and flatten your back. Breathe out, soften your knees, press your feet into the ground and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing, raising your hands upwards. And then just circle your wrists down. And and circle your wrists in the other direction, particularly if you've been working with your hands. This is a very nice way to open that energy here. Stretch your fingers out and just let the fingers curl in, and then stretch them out again and let them curl in. Bringing your hands very briefly to the heart, bending your knees, and we're going to come to the mat to lie on our backs to start this sequence from a perspective of the base of the spine, where we're moving the energy. So, knees bent, feet on the ground, knees and feet are hip width apart. And just start by gently, hands down, swaying your knees from side to side. Both knees move in the same direction. So again, we've got that balance as you shift the weight slightly from side to side, lifting each hip as you go from one side to the other. Massaging across the top of the bottom onto a major acupressure point just at the top of the bottom. Bring your knees to the centre, and then just to balance the top of your spine, turn your head to one side. Bring your head back to centre and turn it to the other side. And just do that one more time, going from one side through the centre with your head to the other side and come back to the centre. Extend both feet along the mat and extend both heels up to the ceiling. Extend just the right heel so that the right heel lengthens a fraction longer away from you, and then just relax, and then extend the left heel so your left heel is extending a fraction beyond your right, and relax. And just almost like walking, extend one heel and then the other a couple of times, and feel this movement opening you up in the hip area. And then just release, relax. Circle your ankles a couple of times in one direction. And then circle your ankles a couple of times in the other direction. Leaving your right leg where it is for the moment, bend your left knee and hug your left knee into your chest. You've got the option here as a variation to also bend your right knee, but it depends on the stretch that you like. So either extend your right leg along the ground, or you can bend it, but you're hugging your left knee into the chest. And again, with a focus on the hip, just gently circle your knee, holding your left knee, holding it with your hands. Just circle your left knee in one direction, and you'll feel this movement in your left hip. And then circle your left knee in the other direction. And then very gently place your left foot on the ground and extend your left leg along the mat, extending your left heel, toes to the ceiling. Bend your right knee and hug your right knee into the chest. Again, you've got the choice whether to keep your left leg extended along the floor or bending your left leg, your choice. And very gently circle your right knee while you're holding it in one direction. And then very gently circle your right knee in the other direction. And then place your right foot on the floor, extend your right leg along the mat, extend both heels, and breathing in, raise both arms up above your head, backs of the hands are on the ground. Stretch your right side and release and relax, and now stretching the left side, your left heel goes away from you and you're stretching your left arm, and then relax. And then stretch both arms and both heels away from you. And breathing out, lower your arms. Bend one leg and then the other leg so that you're hugging both knees into the chest. And just very gently rock from side to side. Hug both knees really into the chest. And then extend both heels, extending your legs up towards the ceiling, and raise your arms up and back behind you. Maybe your fingers will touch the ground. You extend your heels. And breathing out, hug both knees into the chest. And repeating by extending both soles of the feet to the ceiling, extend your heels and raise your arms up and back behind you. Just check that your chin is long, your back of your neck is long. Hug your knees into your chest. And then let your knees open into a V and just circle both knees in one direction. So this is the lower back, but it's also very much the hips, as well as you're moving again the thigh, the upper leg in the hip socket. And then very gently circle your knees in the other direction. Hug your knees into your chest and then very gently place both feet on the ground. Hands can be either resting on your abdomen, elbows out, or you can place your palms, hands down on the floor beside you. Cross your left leg over your right, and then just sway both knees from side to side. Engage your lower abdomen in slightly, and engage your perineum up slightly, and lift your right foot off the ground. Slide both hands down the shins and hold above the ankles, so your left leg and your right hand are holding just above the ankle, and the right leg and left hand. And as you hug your knees in towards you, you'll just feel a stretch on the outer hip. And I'm feeling this on my left outer hip particularly. So we're looking at the external aspect of our hips. And then just unravel your legs by replacing both feet to the ground. Hands can be either on your abdomen or palms down. And just again sway both knees from side to side. Unravel your left leg, both feet on the ground. And then change the crossover so that the right leg crosses over the left. Just sway the knees a little bit from side to side. And then lift your feet off the ground, hugging the knees into the chest or lifting them into the chest, and take your hands to slide them down the lower legs, hugging the knees in towards you. So this time you'll feel this more on the right outer hip. And this movement targets a small muscle that joins the thigh, the leg, the top of the leg, the thigh bone to the hip socket, called the piriformis muscle, which is very much implicated in lower back and also hip issues. So when you're ready, just unravel your legs. Bring both feet back down to the ground And once more, sway your knees from side to side. Just raise your hands, clasp them underneath your head. Your elbows are out to the side. Breathing out, flatten your back to the ground and lift your head slightly. And then just release back down to the earth. You'll feel a slight pull in your abdominal muscles, your lower abdominal muscles. As you breathe out, flatten your back to the ground and lift your head, being supported by your hands up towards your knees. You're not going to go very much. And just release. The rule, if there is such a thing, is that when your tummy starts to dome, you've gone too far. One more time, flattening your back, breathing out and lifting your head up. And then just breathing out and lowering your head back down to the floor. Release your hands, palms either down alongside you or on your abdomen, and stretch both legs out along the mat. Once more, circle your ankles in one direction, and then circle your ankles in the other direction. Keep your right leg where it is and bend your left leg. Your left knee goes out to the left, and the sole of your left foot points towards the inner thigh, the inner side of your right leg. So it's like a lying tree. And you'll see here that we'll feel as well that we're opening the left inner groin. So again, we're now switching focus on the hips, but to the inside. And this also connects the inner part of the groin, is where we've got some lymph nodes. So we're tuning into the lower part of our immune system. If you want to, while we're in this restful position, activate or can focus on the upper lymph under the arms, you can either just raise both hands above the head, just holding one wrist, or if that's too much and you'd like to do one arm at a time, keep the right arm above your head, slightly bent at the elbow, and you can just rest your right hand on your abdomen as you're opening up on both the upper and lower left side. You can always take a cushion or support under your left knee. And then breathing out, hug your left knee into your chest using both hands. Replace your left foot onto the floor, stretching your left leg out. And then we're going to reverse by bending the right knee, opening the right knee out to the right, aiming the right foot towards the inner left leg. And again here, either raise both arms above you, or you could just raise your right arm bent at the elbow, back of the hand, right hand on the floor, and left hand perhaps either resting on the abdomen or palm down on the floor. So all around the hip area here. And then very gently lower your right arm, hug your right knee in towards the chest. Hug the left knee in towards the chest. Slide both hands down the front of the shins to hold the left and the right ankles, both ankles. Your knees will open up in a butterfly pose. So again, this is opening the hips and the balance. Taking a couple of breaths here. And you can either stay here, or you can bring your hands to underneath your soles of your feet into a happy baby pose, opening the hips in a slightly different way as your knees aim towards the ground and the soles of the feet point up to the ceiling. If you want to fine-tune that, you can just subtly lower your back it's only a millimetre towards the ground, which will activate your abdomen, but equally you can just relax in Happy Baby and even just slightly rock from side to side. Your movement's not going to be very much. And then just bend your knees, hug your knees into your chest. And gently we're either going to roll to the right or come up however works for you to come onto our hands and knees into a tabletop position. Just place the hands shoulder width apart, the thumb and second finger pressing down, and your knees are roughly hip width apart. Just dip your back, looking either up or along the mat, and round your back, your chin comes to your chest. And then again, dipping your back and rounding your back, chin comes to the chest. Come to tabletop. Slide your right hand, palm upwards, underneath and behind your left hand as you come onto your right shoulder and the right side of your head. Bottom is up high. You can stay here or stretch your left hand onto the fingertips, or just stay with your left hand as it is. And you'll be stretching your right side up laterally all the way down to the hip area. So this is like a thread the needle pose with your hands. And take an in and an out breath. If you want to extend this pose further, you can extend and stretch your left leg back, tucking your left toes under and opening up where the toes join the feet. And then release your left knee to the ground, slide your right hand out from underneath you, back to tabletop. Breathing in, dipping the back, and breathing out, rounding chin to chest. Then this time take your left hand, turn the palm up and slide it upwards behind your right hand, coming onto your left shoulder. Your right hand can stay where it is, or you can stretch onto your right fingertips and extend your right hand, your choice. And if you want to explore a little bit further into this pose, you can extend your right leg behind you, tucking the right toes underneath to support your weight and stretching out your right leg. And this will bring you slightly more onto your left side, your left shoulder. And then just very gently release your right knee back down to the ground. Slide your left hand out and come back to tabletop position. Tuck your toes and come to our first downward dog. Lengthening your back, begin to straighten your knees. Feel that you can adjust your feet to wherever you need to. You can have your feet slightly wider than hip width apart and begin to walk the dog. We're bending one knee and then the other knee. You can sway your hips as you go. And then bend both knees and straighten both knees. You can always, of course, keep a bend in your knees. And then walk your feet to your hands, perhaps your hands a little bit to your feet. Come into a forward bend, soften your knees to support the weight of your torso on your legs, and then press your feet down as you roll up vertebra by vertebra to a standing position. lift and roll your shoulders. And we're going to come to some salutes to the sun. So inhale, exhale, hands together at the heart centre. Breathing in, circling hands up, palms touch. Looking either straight ahead or up to your fingers, depending on your neck capacity. Breathing out, bend your knees, come with your hands through the centre of your body to bring your hands either side of your legs. Keep this high as you step back your right foot and then your left foot. You're going to be in plank. It's quite a strong pose. Heels up to the ceiling. Then bend both knees onto the mat. We're coming through up dog for a moment and then lying full on the mat and stretching the hands out in front of you. Full frontal stretch. Feet go behind you. Take an in and an out breath here, really stretching hands away from you, feet away from you. Slide your hands to either side of your chest, elbows in at the side. Press your hands down and come to kneeling. And then tuck your toes, tummy in, perineum engages as you come into your downward dog. Walk the dog and make any adjustments with your feet that you feel that you need to. Thumb and second finger press down. Bend both knees back down to the mat. Hands go to the left and allow your right foot to come up to the front of the mat. Hands either side of your front right foot. And just allow yourself to stretch into your right side. Going for a moment, perhaps beyond the 90-degree angle of your knee, but in order to put any weight on your knee, bring your knee back to the 90 degrees to support your weight, and kneel up. Hands up, either looking ahead or up. And breathing out, lower your hands to either side of your front right foot, lengthening along the spine as you go. Back of your neck extends. Tuck your feet of the left foot under, the toes of the left foot under. Tummy in. Lift your left leg and then step your left foot to your right foot. Hands this time on your shins. Press your hands into your shins to lengthen and give you a flat back. And then breathing out, soften your knees. Bend your knees, put the weight into your feet, and then roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Hands up, looking either ahead or up, stretch your fingers, and breathing out, lower your hands back down alongside you. Lift and roll your shoulders. Inhale, exhale, hands together at the heart centre. Circle your hands up, looking either up or ahead. Breathing out, bring your hands back through the centre, bend your knees, and come to touch your feet either side, your hands either side of your feet. Step back, left foot high, right foot high, you're in plank. Heels up to the ceiling, tummy in. Then bend both knees back down to the ground, come into up dog. You can untuck your toes. And then come to lie flat on your tummy and stretch your hands out in front of you. Just take an in and an out breath here. You can wobble your bottom from side to side, relieving tension in the sacroiliac area. And then slide your hands back as you slightly come up into a cobra. Just press the tops of your feet into the ground and lift your knees off to accentuate that little cobra. And then slide your hands back, press onto your hands, elbows in to your waist, come onto your knees. And then tucking your toes, coming into a downward dog. Walk the dog, bend one knee, and then bend the other knee.
Bend both knees and then just straighten both knees slightly. Now bend both knees back down to the earth. Hands go to the right to give space for your left foot to come up. Hands either side of the left foot. Just stretch into the left hip. And then bring your knee back to that 90-degree angle to kneel up. Hands either up, looking up or ahead. And then hands either side of your left foot. Tuck your right toes underneath, tummy in. Lift your right knee and step your right foot to your left foot. Hands onto your shins, flat back. Breathe out, bend your knees, bend your elbows. And press your feet into the ground as you roll up one vertebra at a time, standing. Hands up to the ceiling. And lower your hands, lift and roll your shoulders. We'll take the next round slightly faster. Inhale, exhale, hands together. Inhale, hands up, stretch up. Breathing out, roll down. Right foot back high, keep it high. Left foot back, you're in plank. Straight line, heels up to the ceiling. And then you can either come down chaturanga or just bring your knees to the ground in a slight up dog before you lie completely on your front, stretching your hands out in front of you. Take an in and an out breath here. Slide your hands back, press your palms into the ground, elbows in towards you. Come to a slightly mini cobra by pressing your pubic bone into the ground, lifting your knees, lifting up slightly, and then bring your knees on the ground, press your feet down to come back to kneeling. Bring your bottom back towards your heels as you tuck your toes and come into your downward dog. This time, raise your right leg up behind you, extend your right heel, and bend your right knee, opening up to the right. And then just extend your right leg again. Look to the space between your hands and step through with your right foot and then your left foot. Hands on your shins. Breathing in to lengthen the spine, flat back. Breathing out, soften your knees. Press your feet down and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Hands up and hands through centre. Lift and roll your shoulders. Inhale, exhale, hands together. Circle your hands up, stretch up. Bend your knees, hands either side of your feet, step back, keeping your left leg high, right leg high, plank. Either come straight to the floor, chaturanga, or bend your knees back to the floor. Come through up dog and then come to line. Either way, hands stretch out along the floor. Take an in and an out breath. Slide your hands back. Come into mini cobra by pressing your feet, lifting your knees up. Then bring your knees back down to the ground. Come to kneeling. Tuck your toes, tummy in, downward dog. And walk the dog. Have a space between your feet if you need that. And then I prefer to bring my right foot fractionally forward to allow me to lift my left leg up, extend my left heel, open by bending my left knee to the left, and then come back, extending my left leg. Again, look to the space between my hands, and then step my left foot forward between my feet, right foot, hands on my knees, flat back, breathe out, soften the knees, bending, and then press the feet down as you roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Hands up and breathing out, lower the hands. Lift and roll the shoulders. And then come to face sideways on the mat, feet out, lift and roll the shoulders. And have
one hand on top of the other. Just feel you can adjust your feet at any point, and then turn to one side, leading with the top elbow, and then turn your hands round, then lead with the top elbow, the other side, turn to the, hope I'm making sense here, swap your hands over so that the top elbow always leads, and turn to one side, and then reverse other elbow leads. So we're coming back to the theme of the hips as we reverse from side to side. Come back to the centre. Open the hands out and breathing out. Hug yourself. Just coming forward, you might want to bring your feet in more closely. Again, just slightly sway from side to side. Breathing in, standing up and opening your arms again. And if you can remember which arm is on top, the other arm comes on top as you hug yourself forward. And just rock gently from side to side. And then opening the hands out to the side, lowering the arms and lifting and rolling the shoulders. And then bring your hands to your heart and come back down to the mat, onto our backs. Knees bent. Feet hip width apart. Hands this time are palms down alongside you. Just check that the back of the neck is long. And we're going to do a couple of pelvic tilts, flattening the back into the ground as if you're going to lift your bottom and then releasing. And then flattening your back as if you're lifting your bottom and then releasing. And just do that a couple of times in your own breath. Again, it's mobilising around the hip area, but also the lower back, of course. Just check that your heels are sufficiently close to your bottom that you could, if you wanted to, almost touch your heels with your fingertips, just to line you up properly. And then press your feet into the ground, actually lift your bottom up, raise your elbows, bent and then straighten them out along the ground behind you. Your chin comes into your chest. You feel that someone's just lightly touching your knees so that they're not splaying that to either side. And then as you breathe out, lower your bottom. And when you get a third to halfway there, you'll find that your arms will naturally start to lift up and come back down alongside you, palms down onto the ground. And just take a recovery breath in and out. And then pressing your feet into the ground, lift your bottom up as little as much as you'd like. You might find as you're lifting up, you can tuck your shoulders underneath to get a better lift. Chin in and arms up behind you, maybe touching the backs of hands to the floor and stretching out. And then breathing out, lower your bottom, your back vertebrae back down to the ground, and you'll find as you get to the back of your heart centre that your hands will again lift up naturally and lower back down alongside you. Take it in and an out breath to recover. And when you're ready, press again your feet into the ground, lift your bottom, arms up behind you, chin tucks into your chest. And breathing out, lower once more your vertebrae back and bottom back down to the ground, your hands follow. And when your bottom is properly back on the floor, hug your knees into your chest. Extend the soles of the feet up to the ceiling. Palms of the hands through that V. And then you can just stretch your fingers away from you. I'm clasping my hands over one another. And there's the option to lift your head up to look at your extended, your thumbs and your hands between that gap. And breathing out, lower your head back down to the earth. And hug your knees into your chest. You can walk your hands down your shins and take hold of your big toes, if that's available to you. If not, just then hold anywhere on the leg. That's good. And then open your legs out upwards into a V. And just gently rock from side to side. As I said, if you can't hold your big toes, you just need long arms to do that. So if you haven't got long arms, just hold anywhere on your calves, just to support you. And just rock gently from side to side. And then bend both knees, hugging the knees into the chest. And again, rock from side to side. Then place both feet on the ground. Slide your feet away from you slightly and open your knees so that you come to something called supine Baddha Konasana. It's a lying butterfly pose. Rest your hands on your abdomen. Your soles of the feet are together. And just take a couple of breaths here, chin to the chest. So this lying Baddha Konasana can be, if you're holding it for any length of time, you can have support under the hips, you could have support under your head. We're not going to be here that long, but if you wanted to make it quite comfortable, you could have lots of support under your knees, under your thighs. If you just slightly lift your chest as well, and then just release and relax back down again. It's a very restful pose, but particularly you're getting blood supply into the lower abdominal area. So of course that applies into the hip area as well, but it benefits the entire lower abdominal area. And then just very gently slide your hands to your outer thighs to support the outer thighs and lift your knees back up. And you can either come for a moment to constructive rest, which is when you let your feet are on the ground, you widen your feet to the edge of the mat, and you just let your knees touch in the centre. Or you can come to Shavasana by just lying on the ground and extending your legs. For anybody with a lower back issue, generally knees bent, whether it's over a bolster or knees together, is more restful than just lying straight on the ground. But we're all different, we've all got varying degrees of things that we like to do. And just bring your attention now to the centre of your forehead and imagine breathing in through the centre of the forehead and breathing out through the centre of the forehead. As you breathe in, you're breathing in everything positive, all the sunshine of the day, and as you breathe out, you're breathing out anything that doesn't serve you today. You can use this breath as you're breathing in and out through the forehead to set an intention for the day. It's called a sankalpa in Sanskrit, based on the old, I'd say, philosophy of before anything can happen in your life, it comes back to you've got to think it. So it's thought, word and deed. So you can't alter anything if you're not aware of it. So you've got to think of it as the first step before anything can change.
and then let that intention go. And just gently activate your toes and release and then relax and let them go. Just tense your knees slightly and release them. Tense your bottom slightly and then just release and relax it. Tense your fists, your wrists, your arms, lower and upper arms, shoulders, and then just release and relax. Feel them relax back, more heavy as you release tension. Just raise your shoulders up towards your ears and then just consciously release your shoulders away from your ears. Just gently let your head turn a little bit from side to side. And bring the palms of your hands together, the backs of the thumbs to the third eye. Your elbows will lift slightly higher. And take a bow now for yourself to have a very lovely day ahead on this beautiful spring sunshine day. You can either stay where you are and just drift off, or you can join me to end the class. But thank you everyone very much for joining me, and have a very lovely day ahead.